What's up, everybody? Everyday Jay here, and I want to thank you for tuning into this video. I've been doing a lot of photography lately, and I thought I'd give you guys 6 tips that I wish I knew when I first started taking photos. Let's get into it. Stay hydrated, folks. So I figured I'd give you guys a little bit of a backstory. I've been a photographer for almost 15 years, and when I first started out, it was figure it out on your own mode. Like, I didn't know any photographers. YouTube was in its infant stages and had, I think, only been out for like a year. So the mindset that we all have now of, oh, I'll just check YouTube real quick and figure it out, like, that wasn't really there. It never crossed my mind, at least at that point. And I don't know if any of you have ever felt like this, but like when you start something new, like, you just lose all patience. You want to be a professional now. And I knew that professionals shot in manual mode. So I was like, well, I have to shoot in manual mode then. I didn't know anything about it, you know. The first camera I got was a Canon Rebel XS. Bringing you guys way back. Maybe not like way back, but you get what I'm saying. It's an old camera. But with shooting in manual mode, I found myself getting frustrated not being able to capture the photo that was in my head. I knew what I wanted it to look like, but I couldn't figure out how to get that end result of, you know, like, just this in focus and everything blurred out. Couldn't figure it out. But I found myself getting so frustrated that I would just put the camera in auto and let the camera do its thing. Sometimes it would give me some photos that I wanted, and sometimes it wouldn't. So that brings me to why I made this video. My girlfriend is doing a photo shoot today in the mountains of a couple, and I'm going to tag along for some assistance. So why don't you guys come with me, and I'll start off some of the tips up in the mountains. We'll see you there. Spot. Gonna grab a camera bag, go get set up, and we'll see you over there. Let's do our tour. Alright, so my girlfriend is off over here taking some photos of a couple, and so I figured it'd be a good time to start the first tip of what I wish I would have known, shooting in manual mode when I first started. So, never did I put this together. Call me stupid, call me whatever, but the shutter speed, the aperture, the ISO all affect light. Mind blown. Don't ask me why I didn't think about that, but they do. So, that being said, that brings me to tip number 2. The 2 E's is what I call it. It's your end goal of your photo. Something's happening down here. And it's the elements. Are you taking your photos inside or outside? So with knowing both of those, and knowing that your shutter speed, aperture, and ISO all affect light, let's look at end goal. So the end goal of your photo. When you're focused on your subject, Do you want it to be completely in focus and then everything just washed out and blurred behind you? Do you want to be able to tell that, you know, there's hills and trees and all this stuff behind me? Do you want everything to be in focus? So me, background, everything is in focus. That's like the first thing you need to do when you're taking any photo. You need to figure out what you want that to look like. So the second E is the elements. Are you going to be taking these photos inside, outside? That'll determine tripod, no tripod. Is it going to be sunny? Is there going to be snow everywhere? When the sun hits that snow, it's like a giant reflector. So these are all things you got to think about prior to actually taking those photos. You need to plan that out. So tip number 3 is always look at your exposure bar. I never looked at it when I first started out. I don't know why, but the second it clicked for me, like, this is telling me how much light is hitting my sensor and if my photo is going to be crazy overexposed or not. Like, always look at your exposure bar. So when you're looking in the viewfinder or on the back of the screen, you'll see this little bar with some hash marks and a little triangle. Wherever that triangle slides when you're hitting the metering button, if it's above the center, then you're overexposed according to the camera. If it's below the center, then you're underexposed. I tend to be on the underexposed side because I feel like in post I can bring back a lot more shadows than if your sky or snow or something is completely blown out and overexposed. You can't bring that back. So always be looking at that exposure bar. It's going to save your life, I promise. It's freezing out here. My girlfriend and this couple are finishing up this shoot. So we're going to head back to the studio and warm up, and I'll finish up the last 3 tips there. See you there. What's up, guys? Now that we're back in the studio and definitely warmer than I was up in the mountains, let's get into tip number 4, which is always shoot in RAW. When I first started out, I always shot in large JPEG, mainly because I didn't know what else to do. I didn't fully understand what RAW was. I didn't have software to edit RAW photos, so I just shot in large JPEG, which works. You can do that. But if you want so much more control over post editing your photo, shoot in RAW. It just gives you so much more freedom when it comes to editing your photo, bringing shadows up, highlights down, colors, everything. It just makes everything so much easier. So talking about editing your photos in post, that brings me to tip number 5, and that is take the time to capture your actual photo in camera. After you take that photo, look at the back of the camera and look at the photo. Does that look how you envisioned it? If not, adjust your settings to capture the photo that you want in camera as close as you can get. Obviously, like, colors and stuff like that can all be taken care of in post if, you know, certain lighting or something restricts you from capturing the image you're envisioning. Because it's super easy to get caught up in the shoot and just run and gun, and everything that you thought about before you got to the shoot just went out the window. And then you get home, put in the card in your computer, pull them up, and you're like, nothing turned out the way I wanted it to. So take that time, inspect the back of the camera, look at those photos, and make sure that your settings are exactly what you want. So then when you put them into Lightroom or whatever software, It speeds up the editing process so much because basically everything's done. You're just doing a couple color tweaks or something like that, you know? So look at the back of the camera. Now that brings me to the last tip, which is just shoot in manual mode. Force yourself to learn those settings. When you're shooting in manual mode, you get to capture exactly what you want. You get to adjust every setting to accomplish the end goal of that photo. But with anything, the more you do it, the better you're going to get at it. So eventually, you're going to pull up to a shoot and you're going to see the lighting and the subject, and you have the end goal in your head. So you're just going to be able to quick adjust to those settings without even thinking about it. But that only comes with practice. You have to force yourself to shoot in manual mode and learn those camera settings and what they all do. And if I tweak this, then I need to tweak this. It's going to save you so much time if you just start off with it. So let's give a quick recap. First was your shutter speed, aperture, and ISO all affect light. So if you adjust one, you might have to adjust another. Tip number 2 was the 2 E's. The end goal of the photo and the elements. Tip number 3 was always look at your light meter. When you're looking through the viewfinder or the back of the screen, just keep an eye on that light meter to make sure you're not too far under or overexposed. Tip number 4 was always shoot in RAW. In editing your photo, it's just going to give you that little more freedom you need to pull back some highlights or some shadows, mess with some colors to get it exactly how you wanted it. Tip number 5 was take the time to capture what you're envisioning in camera instead of relying so much on post. So that way it's saving you time when it comes to editing your photo, since you basically captured what you wanted in camera and took that extra time to get those settings right. And the last and final tip was just shoot in manual mode. Force yourself to learn those camera settings and how they all affect each other. That's it for this video, everybody. Thank you for sticking around. If you have some tips that you wish you would have known when you first started taking photos, drop them in the comments below. I'd love to hear what everybody else struggled with when they first started taking photos. And it'll just be beneficial for everybody else watching this video. They can go through and get a million more tips. And if you enjoyed this video and you want to continue watching more videos like it, hit that subscribe button, hit the bell to be notified, like, all that stuff. Or not. But I hope this video helped you guys. Until the next one, see you later. Stay rad.